She thought it was just an electricity break. This is Signal, a story very close to the Wave Protocol book, very, very close, nearby. The city pulsed through the night. Everyone who had lived in Vera long enough knew this. The streets grew quiet, the lights dimmed, and the hum of the network dropped lower, almost peaceful. But something was always awake. Someone was always listening. Quinn had a habit of sitting on her windowsill around 3 in the morning, the moment when the city let go of its day's performance. She held her red cup of coffee in both hands, even though it had gone cold. Below, the streets rippled with net light that had become stronger since the exponential use boom of AI. That blue tingled glow that rose from beneath the asphalt curled along the edges of buildings, traced patterns no one had designed. At least that's what people said. That net light formed on its own. That it was a byproduct, a residue of all the data the city consumed and exhaled every second. Queen had never believed that. The light moved too deliberately. She lifted her gaze to the sky. Instead of stars, the antenna towers of high-rises glowed above her, their red lights blinking in a rhythm that never quite aligned. One, one, one. Pause. One, pause. One, 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 one. The same rhythm as yesterday and the night before. Quinn set down her cup and reached for the notebook in her lap. It was full of numbers, drawn patterns, dates. 3 weeks she had sat at the window, documenting every blink. People did strange things when they couldn't sleep. But this didn't feel strange at all. It felt necessary, like something she couldn't turn her back on. It had started 3 weeks ago with the power cut. Half of the city went dark for 24 minutes. Nothing unusual. The network overloaded, a fuse blew somewhere, and the technician sent an apology message that read, "Temporary disruption, measures underway." Quinn sat in her dark apartment by candlelight and waited. And then she heard it, not with her ears. A sort of vibration, as if something had briefly opened a door very far away and the wind had carried a sound across. Not words, not a melody, but something with structure. Rhythm, intent. When the lights came back on, Quinn was standing in the middle of the room with her arms outstretched and moisture like condensed fog on her skin. She had no memory of getting up from her chair. The following night, she sat at the window for the first time. In the notebook, the sequence 3, 2, 5 repeated again and again. She had tried everything: Morse code, binary, prime numbers, the city coordinates. No matches. But some part of her knew that the answer existed, that she was simply looking in the wrong direction. What if it isn't a message for you? She had written in the margin the night before. What if you're just the one who happened to hear it? She stared at the sentence now. It felt true in a way that put tight somewhere behind her ribs. A figure moved on the street below. Quinn noticed a shift in her peripheral vision, not an actual decision to look. The figure moved slowly, neither hurrying nor stumbling, steadily. The streetlights threw shadows in the wrong directions as it passed them, as though light didn't quite know how to handle it. Quinn stood up. The figure stopped. Directly in front of her building. It didn't look up at least that's what she thought at first, but then she raised its head, and even though she couldn't make out the face clearly, Quinn knew She knew with absolute certainty, all the way down to her stomach, that the figure was looking directly at her. 3 seconds. Flickering streetlights. 2. Flickering streetlights. 5. The same rhythm. Gwyn stepped back, knocked over the cup. It shattered on the floor and coffee spotted her leg. And when she looked out again, the street was empty. The figure gone. Only the net light moving along the asphalt, calm and indifferent, as if nothing had happened. She didn't sleep. In the morning, she went through the notebook again, looking for something different this time. Not code, not mathematics. She read the numbers like sentences, as if they were telling a story rather than transmitting facts. 3, 2, 5. 3, 2, 5. I am here. Where are you? I am here. Gwyn put down the notebook. It was too simple. So simple she had skipped past it entirely, buried it under layers of analysis. But now, reading it differently, it felt so obvious she was almost embarrassed. Someone, something, had been trying to find her. Not to inform, not to warn, not to instruct. Just, I am here. The next night, Gwyn didn't sit at the window. She stood on the street. 2:30. The street silent and wet after rain. Net light wove through the asphalt below her feet, familiar and strange at once. She looked at it differently now. She saw how it didn't actually flow at random. It circled certain spots, paused at others where the moisture rippled, as if drawing a map or directions. Gwyn followed it. 5 blocks. A left turn at the old substation building. An alley she knew but had never entered because there was nothing particular there. Walls, a dumpster, one mossy stone slab on the ground, and something else. She felt it before she saw it. The same vibration as the night of the power cut. A door that couldn't be seen. A wind from somewhere. Wind had no business going. Quinn stopped at the stone slab and looked down. Carved into its surface was a wave, half filled with rainwater. Simple, a single carved line rising and falling as if a child had drawn it. But the edges were worn smooth, as though it had been there for decades, perhaps longer. Perhaps before the street was the street. Quinn crouched, touched the line with one finger. The vibration, no, the ripple, moved up her arm, through her shoulders, and into somewhere she had no name for. Not painful, not frightening, more like remembering. Something that had always been there, saying now, yes, exactly that. She didn't know how long she squatted there. When she stood, the sky was lighting in the east. She had no answers, no explanation, no instruction, no message she could read aloud to another person. But something she had shifted quietly, irreversibly, as if a lock had turned into a new position whose existence she hadn't known about. She looked at the photo she'd taken of the stone slab, then put her phone away. In her notebook, she wrote only one line: I am here. Wave protocol? The world is never far, but you might stumble into that when you least expect.